So first vulnerability that we are going to talk about is hard-coded credentials. Now, when you look at the slide and you're thinking of hard-coded credentials, it's like credentials being there in the backend of the application or in the code, I must say. So you can see that it's basically storing sensitive information such as API keys, passwords, or tokens directly into the app source code. Now, what happens is that the attackers, again, they are very smart. So what they will do is they will completely reverse engineer your APK application, and then they will read the code. And basically, if they get any hard-coded creds that are in the code, boom, they are into your application. They can do a number of things. So as the meme says, use real hard-coded credentials in code. My password is dummy pass123. So it's something that is overlooked by developers. So it's a bad developer practice, I must say, because they have these creds embedded in the source code. So best thing, there are a number of ways to exploit it. So again, before we get into the vulnerabilities part, let me tell you that the Android pen testing process is actually divided into two parts. First thing is static analysis, and the second one is dynamic analysis. So in static analysis, what you guys are actually going to do is you are going to reverse engineer the application. You're going to break it down. Then you're going to read through each file, get a lot of insight on the source code part. So more like source code reviewing. And then you are going to use that in order to exploit stuff. But you are not really doing anything on the application yet. So that is static analysis. And dynamic analysis is somewhere where you are going to execute things on the application. So it's basically, these are the two main categories of Android pen testing. So moving back to our vulnerability, that was hard-coded credentials. So there are a number of ways, the automated ones that a lot of people like, but we don't personally, because again, scanners are something that are good as assistants, but that's not something that you should actually rely on. So that's MobSF. Second one is a JADX GUI application. So basically, it's going to convert your APK application, and you will be able to view the source code. Ghidra is the same thing, reverse engineer application. So without any further ado, I think
let's get it.
Yes, because as always, I say, if you it's always the best when you look at the practical demonstrations, because you get more insight as to what exactly is happening. So before we get into the practical, again, I would like to give you a small disclaimer. Do understand that all of this content and videos are made for educational purposes. Please do not try this at your home, work, or organization, because in any case, if you get into trouble, Redfox Security is not responsible for it.
Yeah, and yes, as he said, Tarak very nicely said, do not install apps.
Yeah.
Get the APKs and reverse engineer. It's illegal to do that.
Yeah.
So guys, please don't do this.
Exactly.
We're going to be teaching you how to do a pen test and not actually,
hacking into it and not doing it for malicious purposes. Because again, we are all security consultant. We are making sure that we are providing you the best security. Exactly. We are not hackers again. Yeah. But again, the consumers, they really need to know what's really happening in the backend. So yeah, because you have your phone, you're entering your sensitive information and boom. Okay, so let's move on to the practical. So first, we are going to use the JADX GUI application. So we're just going to open it, and then we are going to transfer the APK
question,
file.
Can you pause? Yeah, so is it like pre-baked into Kali? Is that application already in Kali, or is it?
No, we have to externally install it. So it's like you can just run a sudo apt install JADX. Yes, that's the command, sudo apt install JADX, and then you will get it. And then you can just use the GUI interface, which I use by just using the Kali search bar.
Got it.
And basically, I'm dropping the APK file onto JADX GUI. And now I'm going to be able to see the source code and what all stuff is really going on in the application. So as you can see that in the source code section, if I navigate to .com and then to the application, that was the package name, android.insecure-bank v2, we will just get into how all of this stuff is being interpreted again when we come to the next vulnerability. So I'm going to give you a small brief about the directory structure as well. So you can see that there are a number of classes actually being used in by the Android application. That ranges from crypto class, do login, do transfer. So yes, if we go to the next thing, just a sec. Okay, so we know there are a number of things you can traverse through each during your static analysis part. It's always a great technique to go through all of these classes and try to read the source code. So what we are going to do in this practical is we go to the do login class because it's something related to logging in, right? If you scroll down, yep. And if you see the 138th line, the function says that if the username equals to dev admin, it's basically getting you to log in through the application, allowing you to log into the application. So basically what happens in this case, the developer has stored these hard-coded credentials because whenever there's something wrong with the application, he is going to log into it. So that's his username, and now we are going to use this in order to log into the application. This is our vulnerable, again, understand that this is a vulnerable application, and as I told in the disclaimer, all of these things, you should not try this at your home place or with any other app because you need to have legal permissions in order to do the pen test.
Exactly. And so we're going to put the link to how folks can actually download the APK in the description field. So
yes,
check out the link in the description field. You'll get to know how to install the APK file, and you can do the same steps.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
So let me just set up the IP because the application works on a server on the backend. Once done, let me just check. So we have configured the server successfully, and now we can just enter the username, that was devadmin, and we sign in. Now you can see that we have logged into the application without knowing anything about the application, but just the source code. So that was a faulty issue that had been integrated in the app. Yes, moving on to the mitigation part of things, you can see that's always it's sensible again to never hard code sensitive information in your application source code. Secondly, if you really want to do so, what you can do is you can use the environment variables where you store sensitive information in environment or secure configuration files that are not bundled within the app. And again, if you still want to store it in the source code, which is not really good practice again, but if you want to do it, make sure that's encrypted, because even if someone gets he really doesn't get your actual username and password directly and has to go through a lot of hassle.